welcome back to my channel. Thank you for tuning in to another video. This video is going to be all about hypothalamic amenorrhea and exercise, and most importantly how I was still able to exercise and get my period back. I'll leave the video below where I gave a bit of an overview of my journey with HA and how I went from having no period to a period within 3 months. And I also mentioned in that video that I decided not to go all in. So all in is basically where you cut out all exercise and you really increase your calories to at least 2,500 a day. So when I decided basically to start my HA journey in terms of recovery, I made a conscious decision that right now I need to change things. I sat down and thought about the exercise quite a bit. It was such a big part of my life. I loved going to the gym, I loved lifting weights. It really did feel like part of my identity. And although I was quite happy to give up and looking lean and having abs and, you know, those kind of things, actually, I was less bothered about, but I didn't want to give up something that I loved. So after doing quite a bit of research and listening to a lot of people's stories on podcasts, I did hear that actually there were stories of people who were able to regain their period back while still exercising. And the main thing that people seemed to be doing was only lifting weights and cutting out cardio and incorporating some kind of gentle exercise, like things like yoga. So I kind of made myself a bit of a plan. I went from doing 5-6 sessions of quite heavy strength training sessions to 3 or 4 sessions a week max of very light strength-based exercises, as well as a lot of bodyweight exercises. I wasn't really doing cardio anyway, so that wasn't really so much of an issue, but I kind of made sure that I wasn't doing any cardio. I wasn't really into things like meditation, but I knew yoga would be a good way to just unwind, relax my body while still moving it, but in a really good way. I will leave in the description below some of the yoga YouTube channels that I love, just in case you're interested. But I would follow maybe one of them a few times a week after work, only like a 15 or 20 minute yoga video. That really set me up for the rest of the evening and just really relaxed me. And then with the 3 to 4 gym sessions, like I said, it was a mixture of body weight exercises with a few sort of strength-based exercises.
I just thought it might be useful to include an example of a session that I did last August when recovering from HA. So apologies for the quality as it was filmed on my phone. But this session was a lower body focus session where I did 1 compound exercise followed by 3 accessory exercises using kettlebells and dumbbells. For these exercises, I was lifting about 50% of the weight I previously would have lifted for the same exercises. So for me, this wasn't too much of a challenge. I wasn't placing too much demand on my body, but was simply moving it in a way that still felt good and still allowed me to enjoy exercise. For some sessions, I wouldn't use any weight at all. I would just do bodyweight exercises. It largely depended on how I felt on the day, and I always made sure that I included a lot of rest between sets and didn't spike my heart rate up too much within each of these sessions.
I'll also leave a couple of examples in the description below of some of the sessions I did. So I kind of split them up into upper, lower and full body sessions. I think most importantly with those sessions, I only did them if I'd had a great night's sleep, if I really felt like I wanted to go, if I'd eaten before. So one of the things that I used to be guilty of was going to the gym fasted. So I wasn't doing it for any other benefits in terms of weight loss or anything like that. It was just that I would get up and go to the gym before work. Didn't have time to really bother with eating. So I would go to the gym and then eat afterwards. And actually, it always felt really good regardless of the fact that I wasn't eating before. But from the research that I did, I learned that that is actually a really bad way to exercise on an empty stomach because it just increases the stress in your body massively. So I made sure that before I went to the gym, I would still maybe go in the morning before work, but I would eat at least, a good portion of carbs and protein. if you follow an Instagram page, you'll know that that generally was peanut butter and banana on toast. So that was like my pre-workout staple. So I would have that before I went to the gym, often in the car on the way. And then I would have like my main breakfast afterwards. So I was almost having 2 meals around my workout. And again, I think that just helped support my body to still be able to exercise while not putting it under any stress from not fueling it enough around those sessions. And I think actually, if I could say anything, if you want to keep exercise in, make sure you're eating a good amount before and afterwards, as I think that was the key for me. And particularly focusing on carbs around the workout. So for me, that was like toast, it was oats, or your classic kind of breakfast foods. I would sometimes have smoothies post-workout, but I would put oats in my smoothies. And I think through doing that, my body could handle the exercise. Whereas if I'd continued to exercise, even if the sessions were at a much reduced intensity, but I hadn't eaten before, I don't think I would have got my period back. So yeah, that's just kind of a useful one that I would definitely suggest if you're wanting to exercise, to prioritise nutrition around those sessions. So within the sessions themselves, I incorporated a lot of rest between sets. I'd only do a maximum of 3 sets per exercise, rest for at least 3 or 4 minutes between sets. I wasn't really doing anything that was really spiking my heart rate or getting my heart rate up. It was very much just gentle movement. And body weight exercise is really useful for that, because they were still a bit of a challenge. So it wasn't like you felt like you were going and just doing nothing, but it was a lot more of an easier challenge for the body than trying to lift, 60 kg around. And my sessions were only really lasting about 30 to 45 minutes. So they weren't long sessions. Previously, I could have quite easily spent an hour and a half in the gym. But yeah, about 45 minutes a session. Then, like I say, I would sometimes do yoga. In terms of things like walking, I love walking. So I continued to walk, probably hitting about 8 to 10k steps a day. I never really set myself a goal for that. I just kept that in. That was kind of generally what I would have normally done in terms of walking. And again, it was part of my relaxation. So it wasn't like I was going on speed walks and doing it as a form of exercise. It was actually more as a form of relaxation. A walk on the beach, you just can't beat. And I did a lot of that in the morning. So if I wasn't going to do a gym workout, I'd maybe just go for a nice slow walk before work, and it's such a good way to start the day. That's basically what I did and how I did it. So I think setting yourself a bit of a plan, so outlining, right, from next week, this is what my workouts are going to look like, and just sticking to it. And I think it is hard because, particularly from myself, I was used to hitting those PRs. It's a bit of an ego boost and heavy shit around. But you know what? I kind of used to think to myself, in 20 years' time, what am I going to look back on? Am I going to look back and think, oh yeah, it was great because I was able to deadlift 100 kg? Or it's great because I've got my period back, my body is functioning how it should be, I'm healthy, I'm happy. All those things, to me, in my mind, were way more important than the amount of weight I was lifting. And actually what was interesting from that whole period of time, it was probably about 5 months where I wasn't challenging my body in any way, but I actually didn't lose hardly any muscle that I could visibly see. Yes, obviously I gained fat, but I didn't feel like I'd lost muscle. And it's actually very easy to maintain muscle. So just through still moving, lifting some weights, challenging your body in some way, but not needing to build muscle, you can still maintain muscle. Lose a load of strength either. And I think it's just thinking about it. It's not forever. So it's not to say that you can never lift heavy shit again and you can never go in and do a HIIT session or go do a run. It's not about saying you can never do those things, but it's about saying to yourself, actually, for this 6 months, a year period of time, my body needs that rest. I need to step back from that, but actually I can work back up to that again. And I think if you look at it like that, it's easier to make the changes. And I know what it's like being identified as that person who you feel is like, the lean, the fit, the one that goes to the gym a lot. And I think sometimes it's more the perception of what you think other people may think, or
you're no longer fit, or you've let yourself go.
All those other comments, I think, can sometimes stop you from wanting to make those changes. But actually, if you think about yourself, what's more important to yourself, making those changes or what other people think? For me now, having got my period back, it was so worth it, and it would have been worth it had to have cut exercise out altogether. I was quite happy to do that if I needed to, but thankfully I didn't. And although this is kind of my story, I guess, with exercise, yours might be different. You might need to reduce exercise more, or you might be able to actually do more exercise and get your period back. I think we're all so unique on that one, but I definitely wanted to give this side of the story because I think there's a lot more of the whole all-in approach where you completely give up exercise, and that wasn't for me, and luckily I didn't need to. But yeah, so I hope that was really useful. If there's any other questions on this, there's probably things I've missed out or not covered, and I can maybe cover that in another video. Or yeah, if you leave the questions below, then I'll definitely get back to you all. And yeah, if you could like and subscribe, that would be amazing. I just want to keep sharing all I can on HA, as well as lots of other things. But yeah, if you subscribe and want to continue seeing some of my videos, then that would be great. Thank you.